All right, to get an accurate accounting of the scope of this problem, we must investigate every fire to determine its cause. Investigating these fires poses their own unique challenges. Our next speaker has been a member of the Boston Fire Department for over 25 years and a member of the Fire and Explosion Investigation Unit for over 9 years. He's a member and president of the Massachusetts chapter of the International Association of Arson Investigators. Please join me in welcoming fire investigator and Deputy Fire Marshal Richard Taylor of the Boston Fire Department. Put that on there for me.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you, Marshall, Kevin. Just a quick correction on the fact that I am the current past president, the actual current president of the Mass chapter, sitting in the back of the room. Thank you for having me. Like you said, I've been doing fire investigation for a little over 9 years or so. From a fire investigation standpoint, where lithium-ion batteries are involved, for us, it's pretty basic. I have some investigative colleagues in this crowd that I've seen. And a lot of you guys will understand this. Fire investigation, we follow forensic science of the scientific method. So for us, when we do our investigation, it starts the same way every time. There we go. So I'll just show you guys a quick video. And one of the things we talk about in terms of our fires is first thing when you're investigating them is what we're looking at. Is it a competent ignition source? Can it start the fires? Well, yeah. So, like I said, in terms of what they are they competent ignition sources? I think we all know they are. And one of the bigger issues for us is this is just showing, the devastation they can cause and how easy they can set an entire building on fire with a fire like that. But what I want to show you from this video of this laptop fire is one of the other issues that we have in fire investigation where one of our first goals is to determine our area of origin and what in that area could have been a competent ignition source and what they could have did. Yeah. Batteries is when they fail, they give us, we look for our points of origin. That explosion, you see all the different pieces in that corner, you see that, did you see that little glow? It's gonna give us multiple points of origin in our room. And so we have to approach these fires from a very simplistic, we're done with these, okay. From a very simplistic approach for us. Like I said, we follow a forensic scientific method. And with every investigation, whether we're doing lithium-ion batteries or anything else, we go back to our basics for every single fire. If you're doing your investigation correctly, and we follow our scientific method and our steps. And this is how you should approach each one of your fires, whether we're doing lithium-ion batteries or anything else. We start with our basics. Our scientific methodology of what it is, what our problem is, and we collect our data, we analyze our data, we develop our hypothesis, we test our hypothesis, and we select our final hypothesis. For lithium-ion batteries, part of that data, and remember, this is an exhaustive process. This is strictly just for lithium-ion batteries, because this is what we're talking about today. We do this process for everything in that room that could be a potential ignition source. So we're hitting on just the battery, the lithium-ion battery that's in place in that room right now. And we want to determine, what it was. Our first thing is to identify it. One of the biggest things about batteries that people don't realize when there's a battery in our room. We're collecting our data, talking to the owners. Is it a new battery? Is it an old battery? Was it bound to fail because of the way they use it? What was the history of the party? Is it a third-party battery the ones you get off of Amazon from who knows where? Is it one that's well known and rated by UL? You know, and was it really a lithium-ion battery? Because when they're burned out and you find the casing to a AA battery that's just a piece of curved metal, and then you find the casing to a lithium-ion battery, the more common one is the 18650. It's just another piece of burned out curved metal. So do you really have a lithium-ion battery in place? Now, your next step is continue your data collection. Did we go too far here? No, okay. Yeah. New or used, history of the product. How was it used? Was it plugged in correctly? Was it the correct power cord? Had they had other problems? Had they had performance problems? And like we all do, somebody in here raise your hand and tell me you never dropped your cell phone. That's damage to your battery, and it could cause it to fail. So you want to find out all this information, so that you can investigate that lithium-ion battery in your scene and determine whether or not it could have been the cause of your fire. Other information you want to know when you do your collect the evidence, collect your data. Where was the battery? Ask your first responders. Did they notice the battery? Did they notice the battery on fire, or was it smoldering? Where in the room was it? Then when you do your witness interviews, where was the battery when they saw it? What was its pre-existing condition? And when you look around the room, don't just look at the pile of burning muck for the battery. Find the components. Because how can you say it's an actual lithium-ion battery if you can't get all your components and put together and identify it? Identifying that battery is probably the first step to your investigation of the lithium-ion battery. If you can't prove that it's a lithium-ion battery, how can you prove that it had anything to do with your fire? So collect all those little pieces of metal, collect them. If you've ever seen the inside of a standard alkaline battery or lithium-ion battery, they have little mesh wafers and, as I said, the separators. Look for that stuff. That's the stuff that you want so that you can reassemble what was a battery and determine what kind of battery it was. And like I said, was there surveillance? Is there video? Is there video in the house? Is there a nanny cam or something that may have picked up on it? And they could easily give us the information we were looking for. And with all that information, what we're looking for, we're in our fire investigation aspect, you know, we want to build the hypothesis behind it. What were the events and factors that put all that stuff together that could have brought the heat source in the environment to cause that fire? Like, how did it get there? What was it doing? Was it plugged in? You know, did the kid walk in the room and, oh, I'm done with my battery, and threw it in there and it hit the wall and landed on the foam topper of their bed? And when these batteries explode or fail, depending on what kind of battery it was, if it was mostly the 1650s that are put into battery packs, like your charger, like the battery on your electric tools, there's multiple battery cells in there. And the scooters, when they fail because of their confinement, it explodes and they throw other cells all over the room. Search the room and find the rest of them, because you don't know if that one that fell behind the bed is on its way to thermal runaway. So you want to do an exhaustive investigation when you do think there's a lithium-ion battery in your area of origin. Okay. Talk to your first responders. How did they affect your scene? What did they move? Did their hose stream knock stuff where it wasn't? Did they wash a cell into another part of the house? So you have to do an extensive investigation of that stuff, because remember, when you're putting your initial battery together, and you do your other research, find out, oh wait, there were 12 cells in this battery and I only got 8. Where'd the other ones go? You want to be you want to do as much due diligence as you possibly can. And I'm glad she's here. And for Sarah Caden's point from consumer products, if there's an issue with it, you want to be able to preserve that evidence. If there was if you believe there was a crime or a fatal involved, you want to collect that evidence, and you want to protect yourself from spoliation of that evidence as well. Just collecting it, analyzing it in our scene to understand what it was and how it was involved in our fire does not necessarily spoliate that evidence, but going beyond your physical scope, and that's where we reach out to our lab friends. I will give you an issue with lithium-ion batteries, talking to some of my friends who are subject matter experts in it. One of the issues with them is when they fail, so when they do finally fail, they all fail the same way inside, whether it's from thermal impact from overheating, thermal impact from outside, the puncture, or the impact in general, the abuse in general. What happens inside is pretty much the same. And the release of the gases causes it to overheat. There's a you know ruptures in its own way. One of the theories was in lithium-ion batteries that when they fail on their own, there's a much greater loss of mass inside that battery than there is if the battery is affected by fire from the outside. That was the original theory. That theory has been challenged and proven in court. So as much as that theory seems to hold up, and there are people who are still subscribing to that theory, on our side of it, you approach that, and now we reach out to our laboratory friends, and we take that battery, that evidence, and we give it to them and say, okay, help me with the metallurgy. What happened to the copper and aluminum that make up our cathode and anode in that battery? Which one deposited on which? And of the cells, who put their germs on who first? Where was the carbon buildup first? What does the outside of our casing look like? Was it heat damaged from the outside, or was it intact and that carbon that buildup came from inside the battery and wrapped around it? So it's going to become a much more exhaustive process for us in investigation. And remember, and that's just that one thing in that room that we're trying to figure out. But if there's a phone in there, there's an e-bike in the room, there's a battery pack charger in the room, we have to do that to each one of those things. And then if you have a regular, if that room goes into flashover and we have damage to all those things, the remote on your TV, we have to sit there and take this process for everything in that room. People have their laptop on the desk, their phones on the nightstand, their chargers on the bed. There's a third-party charger now for Echo Dot speakers. Has three cells in it. I've had one of those explode. She threw it on the bed on her foam topper, threw her clothes, raced off to work, and it blew underneath the mattress. Nice big divot in her foam topper. But where'd we find the battery? Up against the wall, and one of the cells was on the other side of the room. So you want to do your due diligence and find that stuff. And as an investigator, for us, when we're doing this, we have to know our enemy. And we want to know about what a lithium-ion battery is, what it does, how it works to the best of our ability. We're not trying to be experts on it, but we need to understand them. We need to understand how they fail and how that failure can cause the fire, or how the fire can cause it to fail, so that we can try and determine the difference. And this portion of it, investigation, it's fairly quick because of that. Like I said, when it comes to investigation, no matter what we're doing, when we get to our area of origin, we're collecting our data and we're marking all of our potential ignition sources in the room. And then we do our step-by-step analysis, hypothesis development, hypothesis testing of each thing in that room. So it's an issue in that regard because it becomes labor intensive, but it's the same step if we walk into a room and there's not a single lithium-ion battery in the space. We're still going to do the same process for everything in that room. Walk into a kitchen, there's no lithium-ion batteries, we're going to do that for your coffee maker, your stove, your refrigerator, and so on and so on. It's not going to change our approach. So as much as lithium-ion batteries are becoming an issue in the industry, our approach to their investigation does not change. Maybe, if anything, more so for the health factors. Do we just rush into the room? Do we change our PPE when we enter the room because of the new dangerous gases that lithium-ion batteries impose, instead of just the standard, products of combustion that are already in the fire? We might change that aspect of it, but our approach is the same. We're still going to approach the investigation the same way we normally do. Okay. So as far as that is concerned, that's where it doesn't change. But I will say, our investigation that some colleagues and I have talked about is, for us, what's going to happen when the arsenal is just how competent a lithium-ion battery is. When all they have to do is poke a hole in it, drop it in a room, and walk away. Imagine the problem that's going to cause. And then how do we prove that they poked that hole in it on purpose to make it fail? Like I said, we can take it, we can send it to our lab, and we can have them analyze, oh, no, this was punctured. Okay, it was punctured, but how do we prove that it was punctured on purpose to fail to cause a fire? This is going to be a problem for us. And it's something that we're going to have to figure out and work out and come together as an industry to try and combat in fire investigation field, because we're aware of it, we're thinking about it, and knock on wood, we haven't, at least we don't think we've encountered it yet. So that's where we're going with it. But like I said, our process is very back to basics. We approach each of our investigations the same way. We don't care what's in the room. We maintain our approach to each thing in the room. Okay. And beyond that, our other partnership is with our hazmat people, because we need, whether it needs to be kept for evidence or some other thing or to be moved, that's where we usually stand. We just like to have people helping us with the safety of it, and we just walk through our investigation step by step till we end up with our final hypothesis. And if we end up with a battery and then a candle, then we send both of those to our lab people and say, hey, which one is which? And we go from there. Okay? All right.
Excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you.